friends and enemies, gather around. It is time for Perhaps It's You, your very ultimate favorite Unsolved Mysteries rewatch podcast. I'm Liz.
And I'm Samantha.
We're trying to hang in there
Yep.
in these end times. We hope that you are also hanging in there, 5 listeners. We make this podcast for you. We don't, you know what? It's not for BD Wong anymore. It's for the 5.
It's primarily for the 5.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not an all or nothing game. You're so right, Samantha. Also, I'd like to assume that BD Wong is part of the 5 because every so often he
Loophole.
likes an Instagram thing that's literally about him. So it's like, oh, obviously he's listening. He doesn't have an intern that just likes positive stuff about him. He's obviously sitting down, getting real cozy, cuddling up with a hot chocolate, ooh, it's time to listen to a new Perhaps It's You. That's him.
Yes.
Ah, what a beautiful scene. How are you? How's Alfie?
Alfie is good. It's very nice out in Minnesota today. It's like 45 degrees, so everybody is enjoying that. Alfie included, myself included, when I have to go out and see him.
Yeah, we recovered from that cold snap, and maybe we're not really going to have a winter. I don't know.
Maybe winter's over now. I mean,
it's probably a really bad sign for the state of the earth, but hey.
I mean, probably, but we have so little. We might as well enjoy.
Exactly. You got to
Yeah.
you got to pick up those little, I don't know, diamonds and the shards of glass or something.
Yeah. You sent me the link to I kind of lost track of what I was doing today because I was making a salad and watching the Murdaugh hearing. I don't know if you've been following the fallout after the trial.
Murdaugh, I have not. Tell me.
See if okay, so I haven't really been closely watching it. I mean, I've been tangentially aware of what's been going on with the appeals and allegations and etc. and the efforts by obviously his team to get him a new trial, but there's a big hearing today where they were interviewing jurors. Apparently, there is an allegation that it's actually wild. So the clerk of courts for the original trial is a woman who seems like generally a busybody. She was on the stand today, and you could kind of just tell. But she wrote a book about the Murdaugh trial, immediately after.
Yeah.
And there's I don't know enough about the system to know if she could be held in contempt or if any of this is illegal, but it's definitely a bad look. She's apparently in this book she's writing about believing that he's guilty and making eye contact with jurors and having knowing looks with jurors.
Knowing looks. Oh my god.
Yes, and I guess
knowing looks. The true evidence. Finally.
Well, the allegation is that she influenced the jurors, right? And so in her book, she's saying that she made eye contact with jurors and implying that they were on the same page. And she says straight up that she had conversations, not with jurors, but with bailiffs and court reporters about how she believed he was guilty. And then jurors have made allegations that she said things either to them or in their presence about implying that he was guilty and that his defense team would try and be sneaky and all kinds of things. And of course she's denying saying that, but she definitely does not come off as credible. And you can really tell that the judge is, I think, questioning her credibility. They're as we speak, they're bringing forth some witnesses that they weren't originally going to allow based on just her testimony alone, because it seems like she's she can't really keep her story straight, and she's not coming off as very credible. And honestly, making a book immediately after, and I guess she said on the stand that she made $100,000 off this book, and she had to pull it because apparently there's whole sections of it that are plagiarized from some other author. That's a whole other thing I don't know about. But so she's not even selling it anymore, and she still made $100,000. She has a co-author, so I guess she split that. But that's a lot of money. And it makes you wonder, was she invested in a guilty verdict because she thought that, I mean, I think that's what the defense is alleging, that she, was invested in him being found guilty because she thought it would help her book sales. Now, of course, the prosecution is trying not to get him a new trial because they got the outcome they wanted. He's serving life in prison at the moment. but it's very interesting and honestly just wild.
Not a good look. Very tacky.
Very bad, very bad. Yeah, not good. So if you're watching that, I mean,
Mm.
it's crazy. And the you can like live stream it on YouTube. So I was just like, while I was working today, I had it on the background, and they're interviewing jurors, and some of the jurors are saying like they felt pressured to vote guilty, and it's wild. I would just wonder if he's. I mean, the trial was like 6 weeks long. It was completely bananas, and now to think that there might be a new trial. Who knows? But that's
Good luck.
obviously what's at stake.
Good luck pressuring me if I'm on your jury. I would take that shit so seriously.
Oh, I would too. I mean,
I
we're never
would
gonna get on a jury, but like, I would
I
be
would
so
dig
serious.
my heels in for like I would absolutely be fighting to the last second for whatever it was that I believed. So
Yeah.
good luck. Good luck thinking you're gonna make a knowing eye contact with me and I'll like change my vote. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I will be
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
this is a man's I'm gonna be standing up giving monologues like the law has fallen down to the 12 of us. And it comes today for us to look deep within our conscience, and people be like,
Yep.
oh my God, shut up, bitch. We just want to go home. And I'll be like, no, nothing could be more important than the task given us before us.
No, I agree completely. I want to be on a jury so bad, but I just know I probably never will be, which is too bad. But
I
um
know.
anyway, that was just what was on my mind because
We're
I was
we're
watching
such
that.
busybodies. We're just like, hey, can we just like be on the jury to like know what's like going on? Like what's up?
I recently was actually thinking that like had I known that like court reporting was a career path, I would
Uh,
totally be interested in being a court reporter and just like hearing all the gossip, like sitting in the courtroom and listening to everybody's messy drama. I just think that would be a really interesting career.
how is your typing skills? Mine are terrible.
I type pretty good. I don't know like my words per minute, but I type well.
Okay. Maybe this I
And
mean
it's totally different. Like I think it's like a stenography machine is like completely different. It's a completely different skill than typing. I think you could be a bad typer. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Perhaps do podcast at gmail.com. But I think it's the total like you type phonetically and you use like just I think like 5 or 6 keys. So it's like a completely different. I don't know that you have to be good at typing to be a good
I assumed
stenographer.
that skill would be transferable, but you're putting me in my
Maybe
place.
it is. I mean, it probably doesn't hurt, but I'm sure like I'm sure it's so different that you could probably
Look,
master
maybe,
one and not the other.
your life's not over. Maybe this will be a new chapter for you at some point.
Maybe.
The court
I'm probably
reporter,
not, but maybe.
the court reporter slash gossip,
Yeah, yeah.
hanging out of the courthouse, getting everybody's business. God, I love this for you.
I just think it'd be a fun career. I don't know if you're listening and you are a court reporter, a stenographer, if you I don't know, do depositions or whatever, like I just think that'd be really fun.
Ooh,
Probably it's not. Probably it's really boring like 99% of the time, but in
yeah,
my
probably.
mind, I imagine that it's just really juicy.
Can I be one of the artists when they don't let the camera in the courtroom that has to do like the weird
Oh,
sketches?
yeah, yeah, you should.
If anybody needs that done, could you like hire me to do that? Go to the courtroom and
You
like
could get
make the
that gig.
sketch. Yeah, I have no idea. That would seems fun to me. Cuz then
Yeah,
you
no,
get to
I
like
completely agree.
you kind of like can tell how the artist is leaning just by like the way they depict
They
people.
have a point of view, yeah.
So you're like, they made this person look really mad on the stand, or they like made them look really guilty, or like why did they like really highlight that they have green undertones under their eyes? Like
They
that's
make
like
the
a
murderer really sexy.
yeah, you can totally kind of tell, like, how I can see how they feel
Yeah,
about this.
that's really interesting to me.
All right, so we do
I
have an
I
episode
do have some
of Unsolved Mysteries.
updates.
Ooh, okay.
I have a couple updates before we get to it. So, you may be aware that Google Podcast is going away. If you're an Android user, if
Mm.
that's the platform you use, you probably are already aware of it. It was a little off my radar because we are an iPhone household. I knew about it and I actually had looked into it previously, and I'm sure no one cares about this peek behind the curtain, but I'm just going to explain why I haven't gotten to it yet, which is that uh so the replacement for Google Podcasts is YouTube Music. And in order to get your podcast onto YouTube Music, you have to be verified. So you have to like verify your
Mm.
identity. And if you don't have a like video feed. So if you don't have video history, like video uploads associated with your account, which we don't record videos. We don't record this podcast. We're strictly audio. Then you have to either submit your government ID, like a photo of it, or you have to film a video of your face and upload
What?
it. Yeah, those are your two options.
This is so creepy.
It's very creepy, and I don't really trust Google with either of those things. But those are your options if you want to be on YouTube Music, or you have to like build a video history, like a video upload history. Those are your three options. So obviously, one of them is out the window. We're not going to ever have a recording of this podcast, a video recording.
No.
So I had kind of just like immediately was like, well, I'll deal with this later. Well, I think it's either March or April when Google Podcasts is officially going away. People have mentioned it in our Facebook group. So I did it. I uploaded a video of my face yesterday to verify that I'm like,
that's so nice of you.
that I'm like old enough or whatever. I'm sure that's going directly to the government. Whatever. I'm already on, I'm sure, plenty of watch lists. But I don't know how long it's going to take for them to do the verification. Hopefully they approve it. I don't know if it's denied. I don't know what to tell you. We're just not going to be on YouTube Music. But assuming that they approve it, and I think it does take like 24 to 48 hours, I will do the steps to get our RSS feed on YouTube Music. Now, I do believe you can like import RSS feeds into I don't know how it works, but I think you can import your own RSS feeds into YouTube Music if you use it. I don't know how that works, and I've heard from at least one person that not everything comes over. So you might miss out. I saw on Reddit that some people are recommending Pocket Casts if you're looking for an alternative to Google Music or Google Podcasts or whatever. A lot of people are recommending Pocket Casts. Obviously, I'll remind you that we are on Spotify, and then obviously Apple Podcasts, but that doesn't really help you if you're an Android user. So I will update you if and when we get onto YouTube Music. Once you're verified, I think it's literally just copying and pasting your RSS feeds. I don't think it's very hard on my end. So, fingers crossed they accept that I am who I say I am. And they allow us to be on YouTube Music, and I think it's just going to go away if you use Google Podcasts in, I don't know, sometime this spring.
How annoying!
Quite annoying, because honestly, I don't know if they changed the process since we first started, but getting our podcast onto Google Podcasts was so difficult. Maybe it wasn't maybe some people understand these things better than I do, but I remember it being very complicated. Like Apple Podcast was a piece of cake. You literally just copy and paste your RSS feed. Google had like coding. It was like bizarre how complicated it was. And it was a triumph when I was able to do that. And now all of it's for naught because it's going away. But YouTube Music is a lot easier. It's much more like Apple was, where you just copy and paste it in. So hopefully that all works out. My second update is a very minor update. Maybe I should save this for the Found Love. I don't know. I talked about in my Found Loves last episode about wanting a walking tracking app. That is like real life trails, and it's apparent that I did zero Googling to see if that was a thing that exists, because it is a thing that exists. There is, and I think several listeners,
people had a lot of recommendations for you.
The first person to mention this app was Amelia in our podcast Facebook group, and then Lucy also mentioned it. And it is the app Walk the Distance, and I'm currently on there. I'm walking the Appalachian Trail. I actually got a notification today that I have completed 1% of the Appalachian Trail. So that's cool. Apparently, people, if you walk 15 miles a day, you will complete the Appalachian Trail in 5 months. So I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life.
I had no idea it was so long.
I'm going to be doing this for the rest of my life, but I am currently on the first leg of the Appalachian Trail, and you can friend people. So if you're interested in being my friend on the app, I don't know if there's like a lot you can't interact with people, but you can like see where they're at, and you can set notifications. So like if you pass them or if they pass you, you'll be notified, so you can kind of like see where they are. I don't walk a ton. I walk maybe like at most 5 miles a day. Usually it's less than that. So I'm not going to be like super speedy,
Samantha.
I'm not going to be, well, yeah, I suppose it's not nothing, but it's not 15 miles a day. So if you'll probably catch up to me quickly if you're a walker and you want to do there's other trails in there. It's very cool.
Can you
join me on the
Can I
You
walk
cannot.
by and shove you? Like, shove you in a ravine?
That would be a hilarious thing to introduce to the app, a hilarious feature. You could, like, taunt people or, cheer
Moon
them on or
them.
something, moon them. Yeah, no, I mean, you can pretend, but it's not a feature in the app. The only thing I
How
wish it had was, like, so I the interface, it's very simple to use, it's very easy. I like that you can see your progress on the trail, you can see where other people are. The only thing I don't like is I wish like it's the Google Maps map, like it's the illustrated map or whatever. It's like not the real satellite image. I sort of
Mm,
wish you had an option to switch to the satellite image because I sort of want to see like what would I be seeing if I was on the Appalachian Trail right at this place at this spot. Like I sort of
yeah.
wish you could do that, but there's no way. So all you get is like the Google Maps map, which is fine, but I sort of wish it was a little bit more interesting. You do see like landmarks along the way. There's like little, you can kind of look at the map and see, oh, I'm at this rest area. They have little factoids about the Appalachian Trail. It's very cool. So I appreciate the folks that brought it to my attention because I'm enjoying it um a lot. So
How much of that 1% of the trail did you spend yelling, "Gonker,
oh, 100% of the
gonker"?
1%. Yeah, you
Okay,
can just
good,
imagine.
good.
I should change my name to Gonker in the
You
but it's
should.
actually just my regular name, so you can find me.
No,
And
it should be
you know,
Gonker.
post in the Facebook group if you're in the Facebook group if you are gonna join me on my walk across the Appalachian Trail to find Gonker slash outrun Roblo.
I'm gonna find you, but it's to trip you.
That's fair. That's fair.
Is it?
It'll be
Sounds
motivation for
it
me to like
sounds
keep going so I can outrun you
it
and
sounds
not get tripped.
extremely unfair, but okay.
Well,
You're
it's in the app. I'll be fine.
you're
I'm not
so
gonna fall
good
off a cliff.
natured. You're like, "Yeah, come trip me, whatever."
Sure, I think that's fun.
Okay, we have to talk about season 8, episode 12 today.
This is a paranormal, unexplained phenomenon. This is the Haunted Comedy Store in West Hollywood, California. Have you ever been there?
No.
I was wondering if any of our listeners have ever been there and if they saw a ghost.
Yeah, if you did see a ghost at the Comedy Store, write in. We wanna
You should
know.
tell us. You should tell us. Okay, so the Comedy Store is located in a 3-story building on Sunset Strip in Hollywood, California. Shows are held in the original showroom, which is called creatively the Original Room,
Wow.
and the much larger main showroom, also creatively called the Main Room.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
The showrooms have backstage dressing rooms. There's a basement storage area below the stage and the first floor. There's also a kitchen and an annex off the kitchen.
I mean,
Offices are
it's a
located.
really big comedy club.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
Um,
usually comedy clubs are sort of a bar and then, like, an awkward room, but
and I
this
think
is
that's
like
why they set the scene because if you're talking about a haunted place, like how many places could these ghosts be if it's just literally a
oh, no.
stage? Like I'm picturing the local comedy club, whatever, where it's like a stage and like a shitty bar. But this place is very complex and there's a lot of like offices and a kitchen and a green room and everything else. There's also like a secondary venue called the Belly Room, which is located on the second
I don't
floor.
like that. Why
Yeah,
is
we
it
don't get a
called
lot of
that?
I don't know and they don't tell us and I'm not that interested in learning.
Yeah,
So,
same.
the Comedy Store is a famous nightclub located on Hollywood's Sunset Strip. For decades, it has played host to legendary comedians, film and television stars. We get some name drops like Jim Carrey, Roseanne Barr, Jay Leno, Arsenio Hall, etc. Big names that you would recognize have performed at the Comedy Store. Several of the folks that I mentioned got their big break while delivering comedy stand-up sets to delighted fans, is what Robert's text says.
I mean, obviously, it's just like a big venue because industry people will see you and learn you're
Right.
funny and whatever.
Right. But some say the best show takes center stage when the crowd goes home and there is hardly a living soul around.
Only Robert Stack would say that that's when the real show starts.
Well, he's
But
gotta, because it's Unsolved Mysteries.
but that's because he's staying after close to hit on waitresses. That has nothing to do with ghosts.
That might be it. So, according to many employees, past and present, the club's hollowed halls are haunted. We hear from author Lori Jacobson, who once worked there as a waitress. She collected stories for a book about ghosts and Hollywood titled Hollywood Haunted.
That sounds
She says
interesting.
It does. She says that the club is haunted from the basement to the rafters. When she was working there, the waitresses would have to set up the main showroom by putting tablecloths and ashtrays on every table. It would take them like an hour to set this entire thing up. They would leave, they would come back in, and it would be completely all put away.
That's
So these
so
ghosts are huge
annoying.
dicks. Um,
You know, this is some male comedian that thinks it's really funny to fuck with people and ruin their work. Like, no, that's not funny. Get out of the
that's not
comedy
funny.
store. Quit. If I spent an hour dealing with tablecloths and then I came back in a room and they were all like crumpled up in a corner, I'd be calling the Ghostbusters that very second. No.
Yes. Yeah, terrible. So the in these cases, the tablecloths would be like refolded and stacked neatly. The ashtrays would be stacked. Lori says that she and the other waitresses knew exactly what they were dealing with there, and it was ghosts.
Or it was just like some fuck that works there. I don't
I
know.
mean, I feel like that's maybe more likely, but it's just weird that no one ever like claimed responsibility. At
It
least
also
not that they mentioned in the show.
it also seems like it happens very quickly. Like it's something that takes an hour to set up, but somehow is being like neatly
That's
put
what I
away
wondered
in
is what
5
was the
seconds.
timeline?
Yeah,
Because I can't imagine they're taking an hour to set this up and then like nobody goes back in there for like another hour.
right.
So yeah, it must be in the blink of an eye. Comedian Joey Gaynor also has experiences at the club. He says what happened was not a figment of his imagination. Thank you very much. And he was also neither drunk nor high. So
I think this is the blue collar comedy tour guy. He has like a impressive white person flat top in this shot and a mustache, which I guess
I
I'm
didn't
just
know that he was a
calling.
blue collar comedy guy.
Yeah, I mean he looks much older now. He doesn't have a mustache. He looks very different. But I
Okay,
think that's who this is. We definitely hear from him. I guess I'm just calling his mustache blue collar comedy tour, which man,
sure,
that's an insult right there.
sure.
Uh this guy was on like every sitcom in the 90s. Like he would be the guy that just like was Tim Allen's friend on Home Improvement or something. He was just always like that dude. I don't know. He's always the same, kind of annoying, and apparently saw a bunch of ghosts.
Apparently, he got hit on the head with something. So there's that. He says it is easy to know once you see something unexplained, you believe it. So when he was just starting out, he worked as a doorman at the club. Most nights, he was the last one out of the building, or so he thought.
Well, ghosts
One day,
don't count, so like they're not
yeah,
counting the attendance of ghosts on their like
right.
little like hand clicker thing for attendance. They don't go, oh, and a ghost, right? So
Maybe they should, but no, they do not.
they have a
So at
separate clicker for that. It's like it glows in the dark. It's like a little bit clear. The
yeah.
ghost tracker.
So at about 3 a.m. one morning, Joey was alone in the club and began locking up. He went into the showroom and grabbed his coat. As he was walking to leave, he noticed two lit candles on a table. He blew them out and started walking towards the exit. When he turned around a few seconds later, he noticed that the candles were lit again. He went back to the table and blew them out
What?
again. He figured they were still a bit lit when he blew them out the first time, but then it happened again. As he started walking down the stairs, he noticed that the air felt freezing cold. He turned around and the candles were lit again. To which he said, "Okay, stay lit. Goodbye." And he left.
He was like, I don't care if this place burns down.
You'd think he would like go like dip him in some water or something.
He can't figure that out. Okay, so there was
No.
an item when I was a child that I swear they don't sell anymore, which were these trick birthday candles that you would like.
Oh, they have to sell those again,
I
right?
wonder.
Those are fun.
I wonder if they like caused fires,
Maybe.
but you would like blow them out and they would relight. So
Yeah,
I kind of
I
wonder.
remember those.
I kind of wonder if someone was playing a prank
Playing
on
a trick
him.
on him.
But mm,
I feel like the fact that it's a haunted comedy club does bring some of these things into question because they could just be pranks, and pranks in a comedy club just, makes sense. So I feel like there is some plausible deniability, that these are actually ghosts.
I mean, you can get some relighting birthday candles on Amazon right now. So
Oh, okay.
if you want to make your kids frustrated, they exist. I don't know if they're safe, but they do exist.
So anyway, maybe it was a trick candle. It's very possible.
I would play a trick on that guy. That would amuse me. I would like to prank this dude.
Well, maybe the ghosts feel the same way you do because Robert Stack says it seems that the club's spirits just love to play games with Joey.
I just feel like he's kind of smug, and it would amuse me if he really thought like a ghost was coming for him, but it was just me. It was just me pranking him.
Yeah, it's
In
just putting out relighting
general, I'm
candles.
not a prankster at all. I don't find that like fun. I don't think people I know would find that fun. Like, I
Yeah,
don't think that anyone that was picked on as a kid is like looking to be pranked. I'll just say that.
right.
I don't know that he would find that fun. But to someone like this guy, there's something tempting about taking him down a peg.
Yeah. No, I agree. And on another night, he went to shut off the lights in the building, which were located behind the stage. About 5 seconds later, he returned to the main showroom and found a bunch of chairs piled up on top of each other in the middle of the aisle. He never heard anyone come in, nor did he hear the chairs moving. He does not believe that someone could have come in and done that during the 5 second period that he was away.
That was also me. What if I could explain every single one of these? That I was like somehow so knowledgeable about the comedy
It
store
was
that
just you.
I'm just like, oh yeah, that was that intern Kyle. He would do that.
I mean, that would be amazing. Especially if they were like super elaborate
Yeah,
pranks.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then nobody took responsibility for it, and like their end game was just getting on Unsolved Mysteries.
The best end game. It's like, yeah, I just wanted Robert Stack to come to the comedy store and see my set.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought he might not come for the comedy, but he would come for the ghosts. Honestly, smart.
So another former doorman at the club, who was comedian Blake Clark, says that he too was the target of the club's disembodied pranksters. Prior to working there,
What a phrase. That's something from like the Boxcar Children or like,
disembodied pranksters.
yeah, I don't know. There's something
It's
very
an interesting turn of phrase.
like a kid's first chapter book about
Yeah.
that turn of phrase.
So he did not believe in ghosts before working at the comedy store. One night he came to the main showroom to lock it up when he heard a noise. He looked over to the stage and saw a bar stool being spun around and dragged about 20 feet. He says it was clearly not an earthquake, wind, or a person that could have caused the stool to move. It had to have been supernatural, and as of yet, he has not been able to explain it.
Okay, but what if it was a bunch of ants? You know how ants can pick up
Interesting.
like way more than their body weight? They're
Interesting.
like
How many ants
super
would it take to
strong.
drag a stool 20 feet?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but someone can figure it out.
I was thinking of like a string or a fishing line, maybe.
My brain immediately went, I bet no one looked into ants.
I mean, I think that's correct. I don't think anyone has looked into ants. I could be wrong, but um,
I don't know, Samantha. I'm not some sort of ant scientist, but I'm going to put out a new hypothesis, and it's up to other people to prove that hypothesis wrong.
yeah. I mean, I think that's fair. The burden of proof isn't on you to
No,
prove it wasn't ants.
a mere
So
podcaster.
another night, Blake was getting ready to leave when he heard someone banging on the piano keys in the belly room. He rushed upstairs thinking that someone was locked in there. As soon as he unlocked the door, the noise stopped. Once he was inside, it was clear that no one else was in there. As he turned to leave, he heard it again. He looked at the piano, but no one was there. He claims to have also witnessed one of Joey's misadventures with the supernatural. One night, both of them were working the main stage area when Joey mentioned how a lot of strange stuff was going on there that week. Blake told him to quit antagonizing, quote, them, being the ghosts. And Joey responds by saying, "Hey, come out, ghosts, show yourself. Where are you?"
Hey, come out, ghosts.
Yeah, come on, ghosts, show
Why,
yourselves.
why wouldn't that work? They should then like erupt into song and dance. I think ghosts show
Okay, I
yourselves, and they're
mean,
like ba da ba, ba da 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 ba, and then the ghosts come out on the stage, and there's like a big review. You know, like the curtains part, and
yeah.
yeah.
Allegedly, it did work because moments later, an ashtray lifted up from a nearby table floated several feet in the air and then flung at Joey.
You know, since we've stopped smoking indoors largely as a country, it's given ghosts less things to do.
Less projectiles. Yeah.
It's kind of put ghosts out of work. Is that all right? Are we okay with that?
I mean, I'm not,
Apparently.
but
Apparently. It's
I have a few
amazingly
people in
hard.
mind that ghosts could throw ashtrays at, but well, they'll never get a chance.
Mm.
So Joey ducked, and the ashtray struck the wall behind him and shattered. I don't know why that was difficult for me to say. Joey thought that Blake threw the ashtray at him, but Blake told him that it came from the other part of the room. It's
Dun,
then that they realized that
dun,
a ghost had to have thrown it at them.
because there's no way that guy just lied.
It seems like the ghosts also like to watch the shows and give their opinions on them.
Mm-hmm.
One night, Kinnison was performing on stage in the original showroom. Blake says that Sam's routine continued. He heard voices in the room he was in. The voices got louder and louder, angrily. Okay,
That's
whatever. I'm
just
not gonna.
that's just heckling, guy. That's not ghosts. Those are just patrons at the comedy store that did not like your act. Which is
Allegedly, the ghost heckled some of the comedians. Yes, that is correct.
no, I think those were just normal people, and they want to blame it on ghosts. They're like, yeah, I've seen ghosts there. Why else would I get heckled and booed? If I hear a boo, it's definitely a ghost, not someone hearing my joke and going boo. Right? There's
Yeah,
I think I figured this whole thing out. It's just comedians not accepting that people don't think they're funny, and they're blaming it on ghosts.
honestly.
I think I'm onto something.
So, skipping ahead a little bit, why is the comedy store allegedly haunted?
Well, the
So,
ghosts are comedy fans for one, so they want to see fresh material.
yeah, I mean, if you think about where you want to spend eternity, maybe a comedy club, it might, it's not where I would go, but like some people
No.
might if you really like comedy. So, allegedly, there was a killing and torture room in the basement where mobsters would like torture people they didn't like.
Okay.
Um, There
Sure.
are rumors that bodies are buried in the basement as well. Allegedly, at one point, there was also an abortion clinic in the basement. Was this in the show?
Why? No, I don't. I think I would remember if Robert Stack was like, and also I would go bring my mistresses to the comedy store so they could get quick
The Unsolved
abortions.
Mysteries wiki is claiming that a girlfriend of a mobster died in an abortion gone wrong in the basement.
Okay. So, sorry to her.
Wild,
That
wild. I'm
sucks.
literally reading off the Unsolved Mysteries wiki because I had a mix up about what mysteries I was gonna cover today. That's why this is kind of chaotic. And whoever wrote this Unsolved Mysteries wiki, I think, took some liberties with the summary.
They have their own
Eh,
research, their own information.
Okay, do you want to hear about some investigations that have gone on at the Comedy Store?
I mean, I guess.
In 1982, Barry Taff and his UCLA parapsychology team came to investigate the Comedy Store. When they got to the backstage area, 2 coins fell from the ceiling. When they entered the basement, Taft says he was overcome by agonizing pain in his legs. He believes it was from a ghost whose knees and legs were broken by the mob. I
Stop.
don't know why you would think that.
Based on what?
Based on the fact that his legs hurt.
My
No, he wasn't having a blood clot. Don't ask.
my legs hurt too. Does that
Are you
is
being
that
haunted by the
ghost?
ghost of someone whose was kneecapped by the mob?
Probably. It's the only logical explanation.
In
Also,
1990,
I once failed to blow out a candle. So, think about that.
in 1994, during the taping of the Haunted Hollywood series, Taft reported seeing 3 men, all dressed in 1940s style suits, in the back of the main showroom.
Are we
At the end of
ignoring
the
how
night,
much comedians drink?
maybe that's it. Maybe
Glug,
that's it.
glug.
So there is a Ghost Adventures about the Comedy Store,
Oh.
which I do think I've seen, but I don't remember anything about it. So you can watch that. Haunted Hollywood, obviously. Well, anyway, surprise, surprise, that's unsolved. So
What? We don't know for sure if there's ghosts at the comedy store?
I mean, watch the episode of Ghost Adventures and decide for yourself.
Yeah, keep an open mind. Just like analyze all that evidence and
Yeah,
maybe go to the comedy store yourself, become a really successful stand-up comic, and then see if there's any ghosts there. That would be one avenue.
that's one way.
Get into comedy, humiliate yourself on a regular basis for laughs, and then see if you see any ghosts along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Now it's time for a lost love. This one is for the sweetie pies. This one it's sad but it's sweet. Okay. So this is the story of 16-year-old Wendy Radcliffe, who had a very close relationship with her grandmother, Bernice Gardner, especially after her parents divorced. She stayed with her grandmother a lot and she considered her quote safety net. Yeah, Christmas time, 1984, they went on a road trip together in Oregon. Um, they like drove to Oregon, and then they were on December 30th, we're heading back home to Southern California when the car overheated, which used to be a way more common problem. So they stopped across the street from a restaurant in Modesto to like get car help, get something to eat, whatever. Wendy calls her mom from the payphone to say, "Hey, look, we're gonna have to spend the night in Modesto because of car trouble. I'm not gonna be home till tomorrow, so don't expect me." But after getting off the phone, they decide to go across the street and eat at the restaurant there. Wendy makes it across the street, but a car hits Bernice,
Yeah. Ugh.
which is very sad. And I don't know, don't drive so recklessly that you hit elderly ladies when they're crossing the street.
I know.
So anyway, Wendy had to like run into the restaurant to get someone to call for help. And when she came back to the scene of the accident, the like EMT people or the people that were already there didn't understand that she was related to Bernice. They just thought she was like some woman who was hysterical, like just some random passerby. So they were kind of not letting her like touch her grandma or be close to her grandma. They were keeping her away, and they probably thought she was nuts. Um, and they weren't understanding that that was her grandmother. But
Yeah.
a complete stranger came up to her and, like, hugged her and consoled her and, like, told her that everything was gonna be okay because keep in mind, Wendy's only 16 years old. She's not, like, really an adult. Um, so this, like, maternal, lovely woman is like, "It's okay," and, like, "Your help is coming for your grandmother," and whatever. Um and then Wendy had to go to the hospital by herself as a 16-year-old while, like, her grandmother is getting surgery for her injuries, and while she's just sitting there in the, waiting area, which Stat called that she was adrift in a living nightmare, is what Stat called
Okay.
a little dramatic, but she's in the waiting room. She doesn't know what's happening with her grandmother, and that strange woman is back, and she was like, "I just realized you were going to be here by yourself, and I felt so bad, and so I came to like check on you and see how you were doing because she understands that like this is a minor and she doesn't have any other family in town, and like the
Right.
only person she knows is potentially dying. So like what is she supposed to do? So she's there to like comfort there. A few minutes later, a nurse came and told them that Bernice's condition was stable and that she could go see her. But when Wendy and this woman went to the floor to talk to the doctor was like, "Well, I don't know why they told you that. I'm so sorry, but she passed away."
Horrible.
So she had this, like, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes of, like, getting on the elevator, going up to see her like, thinking, like, "Oh, I can talk to my grandmother, and, like, everything's gonna be
Yeah.
alright," and then it's like, "Oh, no. What? That nurse just didn't wanna tell you she's dead."
Horrible. I'm so glad that this
Horrible.
Good Samaritan was with her.
I know, because this is such an overwhelming situation for someone that's a teenager, and she shouldn't have to deal with that on her own. And
No.
it doesn't seem like the hospital staff were really look. Maybe they were totally overwhelmed. Maybe there's like a lot of stuff going on that night. The hospitals seem like they're permanently understaffed, but to be like telling her that she's fine and then be like, "Oh, she's dead," not
I
helpful.
know. I
Not
know.
helpful. You're not helping this person with this horrible situation. So, she was just like crying and crying, and this woman was holding her, and she doesn't even really remember what happened after that because it was such a shock. Um, and the woman stayed until Wendy's family was able to get there to pick her up. And then she just pieced out and left the family to grieve. But she later realized that if that woman hadn't been there, like it would have been so much harder for her. And she really did need that support at that time, even though she has no idea who that woman was. And
Yeah.
maybe she like learned her name or something, but because so much was going on, like she doesn't remember. Um, she also wanted this woman to know that she had moved on with her life. Well, I don't know, moved on is the right word, but whatever. She had grown up, she had gotten married, she had had children, like,
Yeah.
she had gone on to, like, do things she wanted this woman to be aware of, and she thought of her as sort of her guardian angel for helping her through this horrible time, and so she just wanted her to know that she changed her life, which is so sweet. So, don't worry, because on the night of the broadcast, that woman who is named Karen Barnes, called the tennis center and identified herself as the Good Samaritan. They spoke over the phone, and Wendy was able to thank her, and, Karen told her that like, "Oh, like I've thought of you too, and I've wondered how your family is coping, and like, it's just such a like horrible sudden thing to happen." And they actually got to meet up later and like, be thanked in person. So that's really sweet. I appreciate that. Good job on Unsolved Mysteries. And
Yeah.
now we get this like super long unnecessary update about the Germans and Americans having dinner together on
Christmas
Christmas.
dinner. Yeah.
And you just sit there going, I know, the whole time. So then that
Yeah.
happens. And then it's Samantha's turn again.
Yeah. This is a wanted, and it's the New York serial rapist.
I totally blocked this all out because it's just terrible.
So, for more than 20 years, a cunning serial rapist has prowled Buffalo, New York, and its suburbs. A female victim who has chosen to have her identity concealed in the show recalled the horrific events of her attack. I will summarize. She was 17 years
Yeah.
old and walking home from summer school when she was basically attacked and snatched and drug into the bushes. She definitely thought she was going to die. She describes thinking that she would never see her family again.
So fucking sad.
When he was done attacking her, she asked what is going to happen, and apparently, according to her, he said nothing and almost sounded sorry, and then he left.
She was definitely like, are you gonna kill me?
Right,
Like, what is
thinking he would for sure.
like nothing.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just gonna go
So
on being a piece of shit wherever I go.
it's just interesting because this is one of his first victims, and it seems like at that time at least he felt some perhaps remorse for what he was doing, but then he continued to escalate. Robert Stack says that the reign of terror had only just begun. A few months later, in June of 1988, the rapist was lying in wait as a 16-year-old girl walked to school along an isolated railroad track.
This is horrible. We can't do anything. We can't leave the house. We can't walk anywhere. We can't like
You're just walking to school, like
fucking hate this.
something that every kid should be able to do. We hear from a Lieutenant P.W. Reining of the Buffalo Police Department. Um, there seems to be this like common theme where he would double wrap a rope around the victim's neck and
Ugh.
tape her eyes shut.
Oh my god.
So this is something that happened more than once, so it became like his calling card. Um,
Speaking of ants, I feel like fire ants would be a good solution to this problem.
Okay, okay. I think
Like
if we could
we
bridge the fire ants and get them to cooperate and go after serial rapists.
I think we dig a deep hole, Samantha. We get the serial rapist. We get some honey. We get some fire ants. You see where I'm going?
I do. I do.
And then maybe just after the ants do their part, we just fill in the hole. That's what I'm thinking right now.
I'm not fine with it.
I'm not
Um
advocating for that because obviously that would be violent
if that were to just
behavior.
happen to a serial
Yeah,
rapist,
yeah. I think that
I
would
don't
be
know.
fitting. It's poetic even.
Okay. Um so yeah, you can imagine what happened when rope and tape is
Ugh,
involved
ugh.
and
So grim.
um
So grim.
yeah, within a few months there was a fourth victim. Each of these victims who were not killed, they were surviving victims, they described the rapist as a short stocky man in his mid 30s who had a mustache. um
The worst
4 months.
mustache.
It's a bad
It
mustache, I
doesn't get
mean,
named, obviously.
no, it's a dirtbag. So 4 months pass. uh then a fifth victim in a secluded location in Amherst, New York, is attacked. Thomas Gould of the Amherst Police Department was one of the first investigators to arrive on the scene. He describes the rope around her neck, wrapped twice. Um, apparently the man lifted her over the fence and took her into a wooded area. At which point he tied her up, did the tape over the eyes thing, and sexually assaulted her.
Mm.
So she also describes the man as stocky, black hair, black mustache. And two additional victims were also attacked in Amherst. Um, and in each one, he does this rope around the neck thing. So it's like very clearly the same person over and over
It's
again.
so creepy because you absolutely would think you're gonna die.
I mean, and he strangles them. And I think the sixth or seventh victim went unconscious. Uh,
Ugh,
so
ugh, ugh.
yeah. And
Death is too
then
good for this guy.
right. So there was another victim. I don't remember which number this was, but this is where things get even worse. So this woman was found an hour later after she was attacked, still unconscious. Double wrapped marks on her neck told police who they were dealing with, but unfortunately, this time was different. This time, he nearly killed his victim. So he's escalating, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
strangles this woman with a rope until she's unconscious. She's found still unconscious. Um, Nearly dead. This was 22-year-old Linda Yalem. She was a student at the University of Buffalo when she crossed paths with the serial rapist. Linda was the seventh known victim. And she was the first to ultimately die. So she was left in the woods with her mouth and nose taped tight with duct tape. Um, they believe that this was a premeditated murder, that he planned to kill her when he grabbed her that day. Um, he put the tape over her mouth and nose, so there was no way that she was going to survive.
Do you think manufacturers of duct tape are resentful of being associated with horrible violent crimes?
Probably, yeah, whoever invented it, probably. Sure, they
Mm.
don't want their invention associated with that.
They're like, no, I really did make it to repair ducts. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly.
This is
Um,
off use.
So after Linda's murder, the attack stopped. Authorities wondered if the suspect moved, had gone to prison, or perhaps even died. But then 4 years later, a 14-year-old girl was attacked in Buffalo in the same way. Um, so the update, so they're obviously searching for this guy. The update is that he was found. So
But it took
unfortunately, it did
so
take
long.
20 years to catch the
Mm.
so-called bike path rapist. DNA was used. It was matched to samples found at the crime scenes. He was convicted of 2 murders and sentenced to 75 years in life. What was this guy's name? Altemio Sanchez. Um, he committed 2 other rapes in the same park where he claimed his first victim. They also discovered that an innocent man was serving 35-year sentence for those 2 crimes.
Oh my god!
That was Anthony Capozzi, and he was finally set free after serving 21 years behind bars.
No, it's even worse than I thought.
I know, it's horrible.
Wow, why do we watch this show?
I don't know. I don't know why we have a podcast about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's brutal. I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry this innocent man got railroaded for crimes he didn't commit by this sicko.
It's horrible. Yeah, this one was awful.
It was really awful. There is a cop mustache in this segment. Look, cops are probably dirtbags. I don't know. We had to draw the line somewhere. But I did name this mustache. It's named after one of my mom's favorite snacks, which is a
Okay.
bacon sanny, which is basically when she takes a bunch of bacon and puts it in between 2 pieces of toast. So that's the name of the cop mustache. Okay,
Okay.
we have one other super brutal, horrible case to get through, and then we'll be done. All right, so this is an unexplained death. I mean, I think it's sort of explained, but I guess we don't. I would almost call this more of a wanted. We just don't know who. Maybe that's what makes it an unexplained death. I don't even know anymore. So, shortly before 2 p.m. on July 31st, 1986, the body of 19-year-old, so young, Keith Warren was found hanging from a tree in a wooded area near his home in Silver Spring, Maryland.
Uh,
And
this
of
one's so
course,
sad.
because this is the United States and someone is found hanging, you're going, is this kid white? No, of course not. This is a
Do the cops claim it was a suicide?
yes, of course. Anyway, so this is a young black man who was about to start college in like a month. He was loved by his friends and family and well respected within his community and was not, I don't know, not considered suicidal or whatever. From the get go, there are so many things about this that are really fucking suspicious, and you would have to be a real hardened racist or just wacko to be watching this and go, "Yep, that guy committed suicide," because there's just like no,
It's very clearly like,
there's no
no, there's no
fucking way.
way.
Part of the problem is the tree that he is found hanging from is like really small. I don't know why someone picked this tree, but it essentially was like falling over from his weight. Like, so the rope is actually tied around the base of a bigger tree and then slip knotted through that some other tree. It's like a very confusing rope setup that
Yeah, that you would never do if you
no,
were killing
nope,
yourself.
nope, nope, nope. No one has ever set that up to kill themselves ever. Um, the authorities ruled it a suicide based on only a brief visual inspection from the coroner. No autopsy was performed. No investigation was done, and the body was just sent off to a funeral home that, by the way, the family did not pick. The like police picked which funeral home it was sent to. The body was literally never sent to a morgue. Um, there was also several hours in between the body being found and his family being notified. It's just like every fucking suspicious thing possible is in this case. It's
Yeah, everything.
his family, specifically his mother Mary, received a bag of his personal effects that had been found with the body. This included some cassette tapes, a jacket, and a specific pair of brown boots that he very frequently wore. Um, it was his mother explains that seeing these boots is like when it hit her that her son really was dead. Like, oh, this really must be my son because he never went anywhere without these boots. So at first the family accepts the police ruling that he had committed suicide. It's a tragic, it's horrible, they didn't see it coming, but you know, you got to move on. But as time progressed, several suspicious concurrences happened before and after his death that made the family suspect that he might have been murdered. I feel like I would have expected that, like suspected that immediately, but I'm just a really suspicious bitch. So um, they heard from family friends that there had been several quote suspicious characters that were looking for Keith before his death. One was a man named Mark Finley who was like telling people he needed to find him without explanation. One was like this whole carload of black teens. They weren't people his family knew. I don't know if that's like in and of itself suspicious. His family thinks it's weird that they were like not people he hung out with, but also seems like very frantic to find him. It does probably mean something. I don't know what. Um, this Mark Finley guy in particular seemed very concerned with finding him like right away. And we hear from Keith's friend Rodney Kendall that was like, I don't understand why you're looking for him. Like, you guys are not friends. Like, why could you possibly need to talk to him? They were also not people from his neighborhood. I'm not sure if they went to his school. And like the only time his sister can remember Keith and Mark like being in the same place, actually they had gotten into a fight. So like why?
Yeah.
Like what's up? Okay, there's no reason for him to commit suicide. That to me is less suspicious than the like setup and I don't know, just this country. So, but again, there was just like no warning signs about it. He was about to go to college and like start his whole life. Um at one point, his friend Rodney takes the mom, Mary, to the site where Keith's body was found because she had not been there. And he was like, I think you need to see that this is like tree is like, it's a fucking sapling. Like, it's a tiny little tree. If what they're
Yeah.
showing in the show is even close, I mean, it's probably not the same tree, but it's like very little, right? Um,
In the woods, like to choose that tree, like
Yeah, I don't even get why murderers would choose it. It's very odd to me. But anyway, they go into the woods so that the Rodney can show Mary, like, this is the tree your son was found hanging from. Like, it just seems suspicious to me. Only when they get there, the tree has been cut down. So there's not
yeah.
even that little sapling. There's just like the trunk of a little tree. And
Even more suspicious.
this freaks Mary out. She thinks someone's like might be trying to cover their tracks or whatever. So she calls the police and is like, well, what do you make of this? They are apparently extremely rude to her, tell her that she has like no business calling or whatever, and that the police cut down that tree because it's evidence. And she's like, that's weird because you never investigated my son's death, and I keep being told this case is closed. So what exactly are you gathering evidence for?
Right.
There's not an answer to that. Um, at this point, I think Mary begins to no longer trust the police. And people in her neighborhood suggest that she gets a private detective. It's also when she starts a letter writing I don't know why I can't talk today. Letter writing campaign begging people higher up to look into her son's death because it is suspicious. After being stonewalled by the police for the next 6 years, this is really sad too. So she receives a shocking envelope on May 9th, 1992, which was Keith's birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. He would have been 25. And this envelope contained what were apparently official crime scene photos of the crime scene, all showing the way that Keith was hanging and like how the ropes were around his neck and stuff. Obviously, this is extremely shocking. Nobody wants to find photos of their dead son. But she forces herself to look at the photos and immediately is like, this is not consistent with what I've been told at all.
No.
This is very weird and I do not understand what's happening, but he is not wearing his own clothes. He is wearing clothes that are like way too big for him that he did not own. And something that was very easy to point out in the photographs, Unsolved Mysteries shows you not like the whole photographs, but like parts of them. Um, is that he's not wearing those brown boots, right? He had these boots that he was always wearing, that his whole family like associated Keith with these brown boots, right? He's wearing white sneakers in these photos. And it's
His
very
sister says he didn't even own a pair of white sneakers.
right. And there are definitely guys that own white sneakers and guys that don't. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there are people that look at a white sneaker and go, "Wow, that is not practical. That is going to get marked up in 5 seconds." And there are people that are like, "Wow, these look really fresh. I'm going to take good care of them, whatever," right? Keith was not a white sneaker guy. He didn't own white sneakers, and I trust his family to know that he wouldn't have white sneakers. I Was he stripped? Like, I don't understand why he would end up in these other clothes because at some point
Yeah, it's
he's
weird.
he's back in his clothes for other crime scene photos, but these like initial maybe they're taken first. I'm not even really sure. For some reason he's not wearing his
It's
clothes, which
bizarre.
makes me think that he is stripped for some reason, but like where the fuck were his clothes and like why would
Whose
they
clothes are these? And if these are
yeah.
official photos, but like in different official photos, he's wearing different clothes, it implies that he was at some
Yeah.
point someone official put different clothes on him.
It's very weird and it's extremely creepy. So I think actually it's at this point where people are like, you have got to get a private investigator because the police are not telling you everything. So the private investigator looks at these photos. They are apparently official crime scene photos that can be verified. This guy, Joe, who's the private investigator, also notices that in the photos on his back are like little bits of dried leaf. So that suggests that he didn't walk up to the tree and hang himself. None of you ever thought that he did that. But that he was lying down
Yeah.
or his body was lying down and then someone is hoisting him up with this rope contraption and that's why leaves are on his back. Ugh.
Which, let's be real, it looks like a rope contraption that you would use to hoist someone up. Like,
Yes, there's no reason if you are just dangling from a rope until your neck snaps or until you can't get any oxygen anymore, like you don't need this hoist thing. You don't need to pull up something heavy. You're jumping off something or whatever, which
yeah,
by the
you don't need a
way,
pulley system.
isn't there. It's not like there's a chair or whatever. There's not a thing he jumped off of to hang himself. There's this
Yeah.
weird
Yeah,
pulley
yeah,
thing to lift up a heavy other person. Oh, it's so frustrating. I really hate this country. Anyway, um, so yes, so the private investigator definitely doesn't think he committed suicide, and he's kind of like, I mean, just look at it. We hear from reporter Del Walters. He has a very like fancy mustache that I called murder mystery theme party, and I think that that really does paint an image. So, um, this guy, Dell, points out that the police continue to claim that there are logical explanations for everything. And then is like, yeah, like what? Like,
they don't give a logical explanation.
he's like, they keep saying
So
there's logical explanations, but I have yet to hear one. And that's a very good line. It's at this point that Keith's body is finally exhumed for an autopsy, which had not been done initially because the body just got rushed off to a funeral home and the family didn't know that they should be suspicious. We hear from a pathologist who tells us that the claim of suicide is, quote, not medically not supportable, which means there's like nothing that would suggest suicide from looking at the body, but actually there's stuff that suggests the opposite. And so what's that? Oh my God. The toxology reports come back, and there are several chemicals in deadly amounts found in his body. These are things normally found in glue or solvents.
Yeah.
It appeared that he had been murdered, though some medical examiners claimed that the chemicals found in the body were from the embalming process. However, we hear from this pathologist saying that the original medical examiner did not mention these substances. The embalmer used an embalming fluid that does not have all of these substances. So that explanation doesn't actually explain why every toxic chemical is in his body. The private investigator is like, look, people are trying to say that he went to a party, he took these drugs or chemicals to get high, he accidentally died, and then people freaked out and made it look like he committed suicide. But there's no evidence to support that. There's no one like seeing him at a party. He wasn't known to do drugs. He wasn't like sniffing glue. But more importantly, if he had voluntarily ingested these hazardous chemicals, he would have just died. He wouldn't have had time to go make this rope course and hoist himself up. Like, he would just have keeled over dead. They were in really high amounts. So
Yeah.
it completely contradicts the suicide theory. Because he would have died very quickly. Okay, strangely enough, or perhaps not strange at all, the one person who might have been able to answer questions ended up dead as well, also under suspicious circumstances. This is that guy Mark Finley, who like was a little too eager to find Keith right before he died. Also, when Mary got that horrible package or letter that had those photos in it, there was a note that said, "Mrs. Warren, don't worry, Mark Finley will be next."
Okay.
Soon afterwards, Mark contacted Mary and said that he needed to unload something, that there was something very important that he needed to tell her and like essentially get off his chest. However, he never gets in contact with her again, and a month later, he's dead. How is he dead? Well, the official report is that he died in a freak bike accident after hitting the curb with his bike. Except that the ambulance crew were quick to point out that the fatal injuries on his body did not line up with that story, and it looked a lot more to them like he was repeatedly beat with a baseball bat, or
Yeah, those two things look very similar.
or
Just falling off your bike or getting beat with a bat.
or perhaps that he was struck with a car. But certainly not that he just fell off his bike in the woods, which probably
The
wouldn't be
police are
fatal.
claiming.
Yeah. So obviously, it is believed that both men may have been murdered. What happened to Keith? The family wants to have answers. That's pretty much the end of the segment. It ends with Mary, Keith's mom, asking, "What is it the system does not want me to know about my child's life or death?" Because even if you can buy that this is somehow accidental, there is a level of cover up here. I mean, I don't think that at all. I think he was murdered, and I would suspect that it is a hate crime, but at the very least, someone knows something that they're not sharing. Unfortunately, this is unsolved.
No, don't tell me
I
that.
know. I know. Mary died in 2009 without ever learning the truth about her son's death. So Sherry still considers the search. In August 2014, it was confirmed by the Montgomery County, Maryland Police that department that investigating officer used hearsay from an unknown, undocumented, and unrelated source to classify Keith Warren's death as suicide at the time the body was found. So they just took someone's word for it, is what they're claiming. The investigative data used the word suicide determination to justify sending the body to a funeral home of his choice and having no autopsy performed. I mean, look, this is either a cop or this is like the son of a cop. Like, there's a
Or the
reason.
KKK and
There's like,
that they're
this is like the
in with the
sheriff's
police
nephew
and
or something. Like someone who is connected got this covered up. I don't, it's just suspicious as hell, and it's extremely sad, and poor fucking Keith and poor his whole family, and like you know,
Well, and since, like, no investigation was done, there's no evidence.
there's
So it's
no
not like you can
evidence,
even
there's
go back
nothing
and,
to,
like,
like,
test DNA, right? Like, now, like, looking back on it, we can say, "Yeah, this was suspicious, we're gonna reinvestigate," but reinvestigate how? Unless someone confesses, there's,
and
nothing to go off
they
of.
fucking killed the friend who knew, or not friend, guy who knew something. Like, he got silenced too. So, and you don't know if those kids in the whole car are kids. Like, did they actually know anything? Did they just happen? Were they like trying to warn him? I don't know. Um, fuck, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I also feel like his family had not always lived in this area. They had moved there, a while ago, maybe like 8 years ago. But it does sort of suggest to me that they don't have like this sort of deep connections to know, like, oh, that guy is the sheriff's nephew. Or you know what I mean? Like, they don't have those sort of like deep roots in the area to like know who to be suspicious of, or like know who would have the power to get things covered up or whatever. They're just not connected in that way. So I hate it so much. And that's where we end on that
Great.
delightful note. Let's rate this horrible episode.
Okay, mysteriousness?
It's mysterious.
I mean, particularly Keith's. I mean, that's mysterious. I don't know that the
It's
Comedy Store is all that mysterious, but it's technically unsolved.
Are ghosts putting on comedy shows at the Comedy Store? I would like to know. How do you lose your sense of humor when you die? Does it change maybe? Do you see things in a different way? Different things are funny. There's questions there.
Probably. Yeah, there's mysteries for sure.
For a while, we didn't know where this serial rapist was and if he was being devoured by fire ants.
Yeah,
So that was a mystery also.
indeed. So what is that, a thumbs up for mysteriousness?
Sure, fine. Yeah.
Okay. Reenactments?
They were fine. They were not notable, I think.
They were okay.
We got some ghosty reenactments in your first mystery, but they weren't funny. They're not really that. It's just like see-through people in 40s clothes walking through doors. Like, they weren't doing anything really wacky, so that's unfortunate.
It wasn't all that wacky, I agree. I'm gonna say thumbs down for reenactments. Or
Sure.
sideways, they're meh. I don't know. They're mid.
Let's say thumbs down because they should have been better. They should have
Okay,
tried
that's fair
harder.
enough. They're fair enough. We should hold Unsolved Mysteries to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And I feel like fashion was also like meh
Meh.
as well. I don't know
Yeah.
that anything stood out.
No. That one guy's mustache, the reporter Dell, that was really the only thing that stood out from me. I think we hear very briefly from a woman in like a yellow and black gingham suit thing. That's kind of nice, but it's so brief.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say thumbs down. But by this point, we're in like, what are we, like 96 or something? It's just not what it was, you know?
No, I agree.
And
I agree. Thumbs down.
nobody's wearing their best Delia catalog looks to come on Unsolved Mysteries for some reason. So
What about Robert Stack? I
not
thought
an,
he had some good lines,
not
but he
in it
wasn't in
enough.
it. He wasn't really in it a lot other than the very
No,
beginning.
no.
So,
Thumbs
thumbs
down.
down. Thumbs down. How do you rate this episode? I honestly didn't like it all that much. I mean, there were some interesting cases, but
I think
there's only
that
4 mysteries. There was an unnecessary update.
the update is so long that I think it really hurts the episode. Keith's case is definitely worth talking about, but it's really fucking sad. It's a sad note to end on. I don't like the way the episode is structured. So we get like 2 very light mysteries. Like, are there ghosts at the comedy club? Will this woman find someone who really helped her? Right? Like, you're like, ah, oh, nice tales. Then we get a really unnecessary long update. And then it's like, oh, horrible, heart-wrenching shit that the world's
Yeah.
terrible. So I'm gonna say 2. I don't like this one. I don't want to watch it again. I hope the people responsible for Keith's death or knew things about Keith's death, like, I hope a piano somehow falls on them while they're walking down the street. Like, I hope they are no longer among us. Clearly some of the worst people ever.
Agreed.
Such,
Agreed. Yeah, I think
such
a 2 is justified for this one.
yeah, it's not good. It needed more Robert Stack. It needed more flair. It needed more synth. I don't know. It's lackluster.
Yeah. Agreed. Do you have I feel like I already gave my found love at the beginning, the walk the distance app. Do you have a found love?
I really do not, because my life lately has been insomnia and minor health problems. Like, there's very little else.
It's
There's
okay.
very little.
Join me on Walk the Distance and just try and hang in there, I guess, is our recommendation.
I found love is when both of my eyes open correctly. That's really great. I love that. Being
Yeah.
able to
Yep.
sleep at night, wow, what a joy. That's something we should not take for granted. Yes, stuff like that. I like not being in pain. I would consider that
Yeah. Yeah. I really hope things turn around.
yes, thank you. I'm hanging in there. It's January is gonna January. It's just been a very long month. I feel like I felt every second of it, and
Yeah,
I'm ready for it to be done.
I am too. I hear ya. Well, we will catch y'all next time then. You should follow us on the few social medias we're still on.
Just come to our face. Look, just suck it up. Restart that Facebook account or whatever, and come to our Facebook group because that's where the quality memes are going to be. That's where you can interact with the
Yep.
rest of the five. Like if
Yep.
you actually want to be vaguely connected to what's going on here, that's where you need to be.
Yeah, no, completely. If you want some extra content from us, I know we only release episodes fortnightly. You can cough up $1 and you'll get I can say now that we have over 70 bonus episodes on Patreon, patreon.com/perhaps it's you. Our episode this month, which may or may not be out before this, probably it will, is on the X-Files. We're doing another
Yeah.
X-Files episode, Squeeze.
You're welcome, everyone. We're talking about when you like to wiggle and eat livers, as we all do.
Yeah,
And
you
I
know.
think I found something I tried to spoil it in this episode and it didn't work, but I think I found something, like, extra good for upcoming Patreon content that I will actually not spoil, but I'm looking forward to
Yes,
it.
you should definitely give us $1 because I think next month's content is gonna be lit.
It's gonna be
It's completely
wild.
insane. I really can't wait to talk about it with you. It's gonna be very fun. But we have so much content to choose from, and we have a very good variety, and you should definitely check it out. And it's only $1. It's the best deal in town. Um,
Totally.
what else do we have to plug? Send us your spooky stories. If you saw
Yes.
a ghost at the Comedy Store, you need to send us your story, absolutely. Or if you had any other paranormal encounters or anything, any kind of hot gossip you want to share, I'll pretend I'm a court reporter. Email it
Yeah.
to us, perhaps it's you podcast at gmail.com. We won't respond because we don't read them until the end of the season, so it's gonna be a while. But just trust us that we've received your email and we will read it on our listener stories finale
Send
episode
it
at the end
in.
of season
Send
8.
it in. Send it
We
in.
don't have that many, so please send them to us. We would love to read your stories on the show.
I have not gotten very far on our next zine, so if you also wanted to send in something for that, you still could. Perhaps it's you podcast gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
We'll talk to you in another 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get some sleep now. Maybe pet some dogs.
I'm gonna make a new salad since my dog stole mine.
Yeah, everybody, a dog stole Samantha's salad while we were recording, so don't think that this gets made without hardships, okay?
This episode has been a struggle. I'm sorry.
It
I don't
really
even have a
has.
salad. I have 1 leaf left.
The universe did not want us to make this episode, but we persevered. So goodbye,
We
everybody,
sure did.
and
Bye.
we'll talk
Keep
at
working.
you later. Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.